Cringe because I don't like politicians that seem robotic.
Well, as you well know, he took some flack. I think it was from George Stephanopoulos on the whole. I'm not going to take any money from lobbyist things, because Stephanopoulos pointed out he's taken a lot of money from the trial lawyers, but he vowed on Stephanopoulos' show that he was not going to employ a single one of those people in the White House. That's going to be kind of hard not to have a single trial lawyer working on it, and these lawyers coming to work for him in the White House.
I don't think he meant individual trial lawyers. I think he means representatives of the organizations. He hasn't taken money from the Trial Lawyers Association,
yes, but, he said,
from individual trial lawyers.
They bundle it up and you add it all up, and in essence it's the money from the Trial Lawyers Association. He says, ixnay on them in the White House.
Sure, but there's a big difference in a group of trial lawyers and a paid Washington lobby. You know, lobbyists are something by definition, and a group of lawyers is something completely different. So I've never understood that comparison, just because it's a large group of people, a group that you're from, and he was a trial lawyer and apparently one of the best in the country. You would expect them to support him, and I know there is tort reform and there are issues like that. But for me, there was a big difference in a group of lawyers supporting someone who's in their industry and the defense industry or the pharmaceutical industry or the healthcare business. To me, I saw a pretty big difference.
Let me ask you about Mrs. Edwards, because there was a lot of stories in Iowa about how much of his win, or at least some of it, was attributable to her, that she traveled around the bus with him, that the crowds were loving her. She's not only battling a very serious disease, everybody knows that she has cancer, but also she's a woman that lost a child, which is the worst imaginable fate. The connection between Elizabeth Edwards and the crowds in Iowa is apparently legendary.
It is, and I'd love to see her in a debate, because she's brilliant and she's very, very quick on her feet, and people immediately respond to her. So she's a big asset to the campaign, and we all know spouses make a huge difference, especially in some campaigns.
Bill's done a good job for Hillary this time around.
Yeah, exactly. So she's been amazing. You know, I was on the 36-hour marathon with them, and they did one in Iowa as well, and it's really unbelievable. My favorite story, we were on the bus yesterday eating lunch. I'm so lucky to, just with what I do, get to meet him personally, because then you know, and then you see it in their eyes, and you don't have to wonder if they're for real. So that's an advantage that I'm very fortunate to have. But we were eating lunch, and John looked down and said to Elizabeth, "Have I got your socks on?" and she lifted up her thing. She said, "Yeah, I got to wear these special socks because she has a problem with one of her feet." And he had one of her socks on, and somebody made a joke about him. You know, are you wearing her underwear too? You know, and somebody said, "Not just special occasions." But we were laughing so hard that, you know, it's a side of those guys that people don't get to see, and she's really amazing, and it says a lot about him. I read an article yesterday how it says a lot about him who he married. You know, so it's been fun. It's been fun to be with him. Yeah.
Now, James, just to change gears for a second, you are not only a big-time, high-profile supporter of John Edwards, you're also an unemployed supporter of John Edwards. What's going on? Everybody knows unemployed because of the writer's strike. What's the deal with this? We read the Golden Globes go down yesterday, with the exception, I think, of Jay Leno. I mean, David Letterman signed a deal directly with the writers' union. Conan O'Brien, a local kid, it's too bad, from Brookline, and Jay Leno. What's the status of things, and how long is this going to go on?
You know, that late night thing to me was a little silly, because they basically just followed Johnny Carson's lead. In the '88 strike, Carson gave him 2 months to figure it out, and after that he went back to work. And they all worship Johnny Carson, which is justifiable. He was the best there ever was. So I think that's what dictated Leno's move. Luckily, Letterman, or thankfully, Worldwide Pants made a deal with the Writers Guild, so the Writers Guild got, you know, what they needed from the internet usage or whatever, and went back to work with the blessing of the union. So
that's the production company.
It is the Worldwide Pants, which is Late Night with Craig Ferguson and the David Letterman show. Whereas the NBC shows just went back crossing the picket line, so they won't have any actors as guests, or at least very few, because we have to support it. We're fighting the same issues. And that's another thing about John Edwards, was he came out and walked the picket line with us. He's the only candidate he came out. I told him about it in Nevada. They invited me to ride the plane back and tell him all the story, what the issues were, and a little more about it. He rolled up his sleeves, got a megaphone and a sign, walked the picket line with us 2 different occasions. And, you know, that says a lot to me. I thought it was really nice of him, and it helped energize the movement, and it's a tough issue in L.A., and they estimate by the end of February it will have cost L.A. County $1 billion.
What's the prospect here? What's the deal?
It's really, you know, I hate to sound dire, but I think it's important that people understand, because it's easy to pick on the writers, but the average writer makes $62,000 a year, which is a lot of money. Not so much in L.A., but it's a decent living, but they're not these crazy rich people, and they all have second jobs. And when they create something and it's sold on the internet for $1.99 per episode, and they're asking for 2 cents, and they've been offered 0.
Well, you should
And
also
it's a
mention
tough,
it's not
tough
just the
issue.
writers and you guys who are making a ton of dough. Not the writers, but you.
Right.
But it's all the people who do work in your business.
Well, people that have
who are
lost
making
their
nothing.
homes, you
Yeah.
were mentioning, are going bankrupt.
Well, yeah, we have a guy in our sound department who's losing his house, and it's the caterers, it's the dry cleaners, it's the bars and restaurants that are empty down in Studio City. It's the drivers, and it's really amazing how it trickles down, because it seems like everybody in LA is in the business. It's kind of annoying. You can meet anybody who's not in the business, but it really affects all those people so much, and there's no end in sight right now until they sit down and then try to work it out.
Now, James, we're sorry we have to let you go, but it's not becoming for a talk show host to be drooling through the whole interview. I mean, it really, you are. You're
I think I'm
staring up at
controlling-
him.
No, well,
It was Terry
no.
McAuliffe in the last
Once
hour.
again, he's a
James
gorgeous
Denton.
guy,
I mean, it's
famous
unbelievable.
guy.
James Denton here for John Edwards. James, thank you so much,
We
and good
don't-
luck to your guy tomorrow.
We really appreciate your time.
Take care. We
Thank you
appreciate
very much.
as
We
well.
don't meet many stars in Boston. You know what I mean? This is a big excitement for me.
Well,
Thanks
you
a lot
know
for
me.
being
What are you
with us.
talking about? Isn't that enough? 617.